Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stuart Andrew Alexander.
Hi everyone, this is Stuart Andrew Alexander, back again with another impact-making guest. Now, our guest today helps international service providers turn website clicks into actual clients so they can finally get consistent, controllable, recurring revenue without wasting time and money. She's a serial international entrepreneur, private equity investor, and author. She serves as the Chief Revenue Officer of CONVERTport and the world's leading expert in CRISP, trademark, the scalable digital sales technology. Her first online venture was acquired in 2012, and she has grown 3 businesses by over 10,000% in the last 5 years alone. Now, her mission is within the next 60 months to save 1 million entrepreneurs from becoming yet another business mortality rate statistic, and you can ask her how. Originally from Washington, D.C., she lives between the East Coast, Stockholm, London, Berlin, Cape Town, and just 526 feet away from the beach on the Mexican Riviera, where she goes to think, write, produce, and catch the sunsets. What a lucky girl. And while in Mexico, she's well known as an active supporter of a local non-profit organization. And she's here, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about some of the problems, some of the obstacles, the misconceptions, and she may even talk about some of the pitfalls surrounding the individuals and organizations she has a true passion around helping. Please welcome her to the show, co-founder and Chief Revenue Officer for CONVERTport, SHOLA ABIDOYE. SHOLA, are you there?
Wow, thanks for having me in the studio today. How are you doing, Stuart?
SHOLA, I am on top of the world, and when I look over to my left-hand side, I see you right there next to me, so I'm really looking forward to having a great show.
Yeah, you might need a few minutes to let me compose myself here. I'm still blushing for your such a gracious introduction.
Well, it is something that you deserve. You've done a lot in your life, and I just felt it was quite necessary to shine the spotlight on that so that our listeners know exactly what it is that you've achieved and how you've actually reached this point today where I can ask you the very first question in today's show. So with that said, SHOLA, who is it that's your perfect prospect? Or in other words, who do you help, SHOLA?
Well, Stuart, CONVERTport helps international service providers turn website clicks into actual clients. So really, business owners finally get consistent, controllable, recurring revenue without wasting time and money. So I like to help people who want what you might think of as light switch sales, light switch profits, light switch marketing. When you turn on a light switch, you have some certainty that you're going to get the end results that you want. And the statistics show us that 99.99% of business owners don't have that. So my mission and my passion is to really empower business owners to get that kind of result. And that's what we work on day in and day out, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
I love that analogy of switching on a light switch and the light comes on, and the way how you've connected that with switching on or taking some kind of action that's basically guaranteeing to bring a specific result. Is that am I on the right track there, SHOLA?
Without question. And really, it was a hard lesson to learn, not only looking at other businesses, but going through it ourselves. And so what we realized is that at the end of the day, when you really cut to the chase, that's what business owners want. And so that's why we feel unapologetically excited, motivated, challenged with every day in and day out, getting our clients those kind of results, because that's what people really, really want. You might think of it as de-risking the customer acquisition process. So really just removing the risk that many businesses face where they're going out there and trying to generate more recurring revenue and even a high ticket one-off revenue for their business.
So light switch sales, Shola, that's a big claim. I can imagine when you're out there and you're talking about light switch sales and getting consistent, controllable revenue without wasting time and money. I can imagine that you come across one or two common obstacles that prevent the people you help the most from actually moving forward. So for the benefit of the readers who may be thinking, light switch sales, come on, Shola, nobody can guarantee that. What are some of the obstacles that you come across? Let's just have a look at some of those, get them out of the way, let's squash them right here and there.
Sure. Well, here's the thing. No matter how hard, what many business owners face is this. And as you're driving down the street or working out or maybe walking the dog, I want you to imagine yourself going through this situation, because I'm sure that you've come across this obstacle. So no matter how hard you try, you are not getting consistent results. And just to double click on your statement, Stu, the challenge for most people is that they have an obstacle of seeing their customer acquisition, their revenue generation as more of an art, okay, than science or math. So the thing is that when you're doing something that's artistic, no one can, with clear and predictable accuracy, guarantee, let's say, that they're going to draw a picture in the same way, right? Each picture is an original. But when you're doing, let's say, math, there are only 4 things you can do to a number. You can add it, you can subtract it, you can multiply it, you can divide it. And you can guarantee that if you have any number, there are only 4 things that you can do to that number. And so what we realize is that if we just distill those 2 or 3 things, and we'll talk about that later, that you absolutely have in a business in order to generate revenue, okay? And in the land of digital sales, those things are traffic or lead generation and conversions. If you can control that, if you can control the lead flow and the deal flow, then you can control the revenue flow. And so that's why when we help people to see the task at hand from that perspective, they just get an amazing aha moment, because chances are many people have been not getting consistent results because they've been looking at it more as an art as opposed to what we do, which is apply technology and science to it, but in a way that isn't overwhelming for our clients.
So, in terms of a common obstacle there, I could imagine that the people out there listening to the show possibly have is they've tried, lots of popular solutions that's been touted by experts and gurus out there, and they're still stuck. They're not achieving their goals. What do you have to say to that specific person who has this desire? They have this passion. They really want to make a change, but they want it to be controlled. They want to have a guarantee that if they put X in, Y is going to come out. They've been bitten. They've been dragged over hot coals. They have no faith in what you are saying right now. So, Shola, what do you say to those people that have gone down that road, please?
Sure. Well, the first thing is to understand a clear, almost universal law, right? Which is if you expect different results and you do the same actions as everyone around you, then, as Einstein would say, that's a definition of insanity. If you are following what all the quote-unquote gurus say, if you've tried literally every single solution that has come your way through email or through a webinar or through a conference or through any other information medium, chances are you're just trying what most people are doing, right? And so what I would argue is that if you're listening to this and you want a change, you have to understand that, first of all, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, your challenge is that you have to really deal with a common pitfall, which is that chances are you don't have a plan for your business that's based on your unique strengths and weaknesses. So here's a reality for everybody to embrace. There are about 7.2 billion people on the planet. Translation, there are a whole lot of people. And every single one of you have a different fingerprint. You're literally different from every other human being on the planet, from just by way of your fingerprints. Well, could it be the case that you're different in other ways? I would argue yes. And so the challenge for everybody is that they have to step away from doing what most people are doing. They have to understand that their business has to be built on their unique strengths, okay? And just like they're unique in how they look, their fingerprints, their business has to be unique. And see, it's only when you offer something that other people can't get other places, or if they could, it's very difficult for them to get. Only when you solve that problem are you able to charge the prices that you want, okay? Attract the clients that you want on your terms and generate the kind of consistent sales that enable you to buy traffic, buy exposure any place that you want. So I hope that adds some insight for folks listening.
When you think about some of the international service providers that you help to turn website clicks into actual clients, what are 2 to 3 popular myths, or even better said, misconceptions? And that is whether they perceive them to be true or not. What are those kind of myths and misconceptions that your prospects may have about achieving their desired outcome?
Well, I think that's a brilliant question. And I'd just like to quote Benjamin Franklin, who long ago said, not planning means planning to fail. And so there are a lot of books being written in the business advice ecosystem these days that just talk about the power of failing, right? Fail fast, fail often, okay? And I would argue that actually you want to be minimizing your failure, right? What you want to do is test. See, there's a difference between testing and failing. Failing is just trying anything because you feel like if you try enough things randomly, at some point, just like you're playing the slot machine, imagine you pulling the lever of the slot machine. At some point, if you play enough, if you pull it down enough and you play enough, maybe you'll win a few coins, okay? Well, that's failing, okay? But testing is strategically going in with a plan. Okay, so imagine that there are games out there, right? Because everything in business requires some risk. So the difference between failing, just to round out that analogy, Stuart, and testing is that when you test, you're whittling down your options. Okay, so you're just going to test a few things that chances are have been proven by somebody else, and you're just going to try them just a little bit, but you're going to tweak them to your strengths. And so I would say the one big misperception that people have is that they can just go out there and fail and try something without a plan. And I would say that not having a plan for most people is probably the single biggest challenge that they have. They don't have a plan that's based on their strengths and their weaknesses, and they don't have what we call ESP plan. So what does ESP stand for? It stands for exactly, specifically, and precisely. You need to attach numbers. You don't have to be a mathematician, but you can tell from our conversation, Stuart, that I'm a bit of a numbers gal, right? So I come from a family of 3 engineers. So this is the sort of thing that we grew up talking about. But you don't have to be that hardcore left-brained or numbers oriented, but you do at least need to attach some specific numbers and dates to your plan. And I think that when people actually have a plan in place, then they can really sidestep and deal with this vast misperception that people have, which is you're just going to get out there, you're going to try anything randomly, you're going to keep pulling the slot machine until some quarters fall out, okay? If you pull that slot machine too many times, you're going to put every single dime that you have, okay, up to play, and you're going to walk away from the casino of business with nothing to show for it. And then you're going to have to go home and you're going to have to explain to your husband, your wife, or to your friends, or your family how you feel. And I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone.
What about those people who are of the belief that, hey, you know something, I just need to get my name out there, and then when enough people find out about me, they'll, something magical will happen and they'll get all the referral business that they could ever need and ever want. What do you have to say to those people who have this misconception? Let's please crush this one, because I know it's a big one out there for our listeners.
Sure. Well, I think that's what you might call Discovery Channel marketing. So what do I mean by Discovery Channel? So Discovery Channel is where you have all these great shows like the total eclipse of the sun or about black holes, right? And in particular, I'm thinking about the great shows that you have on Discovery Channel about the black hole. Okay, so what is this black hole? Black hole is something that where you put something in and you have no idea what's going to come out, right? And so most people are sort of sitting there, to draw out the analogy, watching the Discovery Channel when it comes to their business. And they have this black whole marketing where they think if they just put enough of themselves out there, then something's going to happen in this black hole or black box, and out is going to pop the exact clients that they want, when they want, how they want to serve them at the right price point. And so when people don't understand that you can't have a black box when it comes to your business, you can't have a black hole. It didn't work for the folks in Star Trek, right? And it's not going to work for you. You have to be able to know with some accuracy that if you put X in terms of your time and your financial resources, you're going to get Y out. And if you don't know, then I would argue that you're not choosing the right strategy. So that should really help people to see that there's not a lot of time to waste. You have to get these things right, or else you're going to risk being one of the many people who fall victim to what I call the business mortality rate statistic, which is the vast number of people who, unfortunately, after 5 to 7 years, they got to close up shop and then they're back to a job. And we're so passionate about not having that happen for as many people as possible that we're just very unapologetic about making people focus on what really matters, which is their client and customer acquisition.
Just about a minute ago, you mentioned that people don't have time to waste, or be very careful about wasting time. So one final misconception that I'd like to address is people think that time is free. Please shine the spotlight on this one, Shola, because I really would like to help our listeners out there. Anybody who has this belief in their mind, this misconception, we could even go as far as calling it a myth that time is free. So please shed some light on that for us. Go ahead.
Well, Stuart, this is one that I feel particularly emotional about, and here's why. Unfortunately, several years ago, my brother passed away prematurely. And for anyone who has gone through the death of a loved one relatively young in their life, something happens and you totally change, right? And so for me, part of the work that I do has to deal with the aha moment that I had when suddenly you wake up and there are people that you think are going to be around for decades that are no longer there. It made me realize that time isn't free. And what do I mean by that? Everything that we say no to in our business, we're saying yes to for something else. Or to put it differently, whenever you're saying yes to something, so you're saying yes to trying yet another strategy that a guru talked about that probably isn't going to fit your business, saying yes to Facebook, saying yes to selling to people who really don't value you, you're saying no to what you really want. And so, because again, I'm kind of a numbers geek, what I did one day, and this is for everyone who's just a fan of brutal honesty. So you mind if I take 30 seconds and just give you this aha moment to people in your audience, Stuart? It's only going to take. We
love aha moments, and we love brutal honesty. So please take the floor.
Brutal, loving honestly. Let's put it that way. So here's the thing: if someone, I tend to work with a lot of business owners who they're mature. They're at least 40 years old. I actually prefer that. Because once you get to be about 40 or so, you really come into your own, you're more confident. That doesn't say that younger people aren't, but as you mature, you start to see things differently. So if you're listening to this and you're over 40 or certainly over 50 or even over 60, what you have to realize is that there are only 365 days in a year. So if you were to actually do the math, and this is where the aha moment comes for people. If you do the math, if you're sitting here listening to the call and you're 40-ish, certainly above that, you only have about a good, let's say, 20,000 more days on this planet, okay? 20,000 more days, okay? A day is just 24 hours. So what I'm suggesting to you is that when you really did the math, there's a limited number of actual hours that you have on the planet. So your time isn't free. Whenever you say yes to something that isn't really going to move you further faster with less effort, you're saying no to doing other things, because you can't spend your time twice. Like there's no bank of time where you can go and plop down $1,000 or $5,000 and get 5 more years, right? When you use it, it's gone. It's life's only depletable resource. You can never get more of it back. And so what I would argue for anyone listening to this is that you have to look yourself in the mirror and realize that time isn't free. That every time you say yes to one of those strategies that isn't going to get you controllable or repeatable or scalable or predictable or consistent results, you're saying no to a life of having that certainty, waking up in the morning where you know where your sales are going to come from, where you know where your clients are going to come from, where you know that you only have to work with people that bring you joy because you can say no to the other people. And so I really want people to understand that you never know when or for how long the people that you care about in your life are going to be around. Just like I didn't know how long my brother was going to be around. And you don't want to spend that time fretting about things that just don't matter. You want to spend your time growing the business the way that you want so that you have time to spend with those folks and you have the time to really make the impact on the world that you want. So I just get really, really excitable when I talk about this, just because it really is coming from the heart, Stuart. And if just one person can walk away getting that aha moment, that time isn't free. And every time they say yes to something in their business that's a wrong strategy, they're saying no to the things that really matter, I would just be totally delighted.
It's really, really important what you've just brought up there, Shola. I really want to thank you for shining a spotlight on that. And I'm sure there's going to be some listeners out there that are going to benefit from it. So having said that, let's move on to talk about some of the things that our listeners should be aware of, some of the pitfalls that are out there. I mean, you've mentioned one of them already about not having a winning plan or a proven roadmap based on their 80-20 strengths. Now, you can touch a little bit more on that, but for the business owners who want to finally get consistent, controllable, reoccurring revenue without wasting time and money, what are one or two pitfalls that they should be aware of, Shola?
Sure. Well, one of the biggest pitfalls that it literally is a landmine. Okay, imagine some war zone and you're driving your car, and this is one that you gotta watch out for. Okay, so I'm the person that's yelling to you, no, don't go left, go right, and it's as follows: if your business is doing under $10 million, then your single biggest job is to become what I call a professional entrepreneur, okay, or a professional revenue generator. When I say professional, I mean one that gets consistent results and one that gets paid what she or he is worth. So if you think about the difference between, let's say, a professional tennis player and a hobbyist tennis player, a hobbyist tennis player practices when she wants to, and maybe she might enter into a few tournaments when she wants to, but it's not her main way of paying her bills. Well, here's the reality for you as a business owner. Your main way of paying your bills is going to be acquiring clients. If you don't have clients, you don't have income. If you don't have income, you're back to a job. And so what I'm suggesting is that for businesses, and I draw upon the work of the venerable Michael Masterson, okay, who's head of the $500 million Agora publishing empire, okay? And his whole idea is that businesses are like human beings, okay? So you have an infant phase, and then you have an adolescent phase, and then you have an adult phase. And for people who are doing under $10 million and certainly under $1 million, you're still in the infant or the adolescent phase. And so you know that your priorities when you had a child that was an infant, okay, or an adolescent, are different than the priorities that you would have as a parent to an adult. And so your business, when it's doing under a certain amount of revenue per year, Stuart, you have to be that parent to your business. You have to set priorities. And what I'm suggesting, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that there are at least 1,000 things that you can do today. But if you are letting those things monopolize your time, as opposed to focusing on your exact, specific, precise client acquisition or customer acquisition process, then you are worrying about a cold when you have terminal cancer, right? And so to wrap up what I'm saying, the single most important activity for a business owner who's not doing 10 million or even $1 million a year in revenue is to become a professional at customer acquisition, to pick one way of acquiring customers that plays to your strengths and to get consistent at that. And I think that if you talk to anybody who has been a successful business owner over the years, that's the one thing that they can all agree with, that if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. They can disagree about what marketing strategy works. They can disagree on what to sell. They can disagree on who to sell to. They can disagree on brand bans, on whether you should use Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. But what they will not disagree on is that if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And so I would submit to you that being a professional is about getting consistent results, and getting that one important activity done day in and day out is what really separates the businesses that fail from those that don't. So I hope that cleared things up for you.
Absolutely, 100%. And with that said, Shola, I mean, if you're in business and you, like you said, your sole goal, especially if you're doing under even 1 million a year, never mind 10 million a year, is to have a consistent flow of customers. If that's what you are saying that our listeners should have or should aspire to have or to achieve, then what could be some of the fears that actually hold them back from even attempting to do that?
Well, I think that if you think about what every philosopher over the past 1,000 years has said, it all boils down to the following. Everything that you want is on the other side of your fear, okay? And fear often manifests itself as procrastination, okay? Fear often manifests itself as uncertainty. And so what I'm saying here is that what happens is that a lot of people, they feel hopeless. They've tried everything in the past and it hasn't worked. And so they're really fearful about it not working now, right? So they don't even try. If you don't have hopelessness, you're not going to feel any initiative to get the things done, even if what you need to do is raise your hand and ask for help. And that's another misperception, that you have to do all the work yourself. Sometimes the most impactful, the most leveraged thing that you can do, Stuart, is to just raise your hand and say, I'm not going to do this myself. I'm going to ask for help. And so I feel very deliberate in any conversation that I have with people when I say to them that chances are the results that you want, okay, are on the other side of what you're already doing. They're on the other side of fear. They're on the other side of what you feel comfortable about. And in fact, if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, then it's probably what you really need to do. So that is something that we have to be unapologetic in getting the word out about, because I don't think enough people are talking about it. And that's why platforms like yours that are designed to really empower service provider business owners to be as impactful as possible are just you're a voice in the wilderness, Stuart.
Well, you're so welcome, and I think it's prudent that you've been talking about these fears that hold people back from even attempting to step out there and claim what I say is their God-given gift, because everybody has a gift. And if you have the luxury of being able to discover what that gift is, if you don't claim it, you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing all the people who you could be helping today, tomorrow, and sometime in the future with that natural God-given gift. And that is because of what you said, and that was just so profound. I have to repeat it. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. That is just amazing. That is just so straight line. You said it so quickly. I just wanted to just bring that back, shine the spotlight on it, because that is really profound. I'm going to repeat it. In fact, you repeat it just one more time for me, a little bit slower, so people hear it in your voice. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Please say that again.
Everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And oftentimes, Stuart, the thing that people want the most is permission. And what do I mean by permission? What do you want? What do you want in the area of your health and your wealth and your relationships and your lifestyle, right? Because ultimately, we all have a reason for wanting to be in business. It's not just about making money. And many of us are fearful about wanting what we really want. We've grown up in a society or a household where we were told that there's something wrong with us for actually going after our dreams. And people like you and people like me, Stuart, we're unapologetically dream chasing. We know exactly what we want, and we feel as excited about helping other people want that as getting it ourselves. And so that fear of actually wanting something too much because in the past you wanted something and you couldn't get it is what hold a lot of people back. And so today, right here, right now, whatever time zone, whatever continent you're on, I want you to know that you have to give yourself permission to want what you want, as long as it isn't hurting anyone, as long as you don't have to harm anyone to get it. You deserve it. So you after it. You can't keep not giving permission to have what you want. And that's just so people have that breakthrough that I don't think that we can say it enough, Stuart.
In terms of the people who you work with, who are wanting to achieve the outcome of turning their website clicks into actual clients, they're wanting to get this consistent and controllable reoccurring revenue that you've spoken about without wasting time and money. I'm going to ask you what may seem to a lot of people an obvious question, but I'm going to put it out there anyway, Shola. Why would they even want to achieve that?
Well, here's why, Stuart. First of all, People want to have a business where they can actually wake up every day excited and certain. Whether you listen to the self-development gurus like the Tony Robbins of the world, or you read Psychology Today, what you hear day in and day out is that we human beings, we want certainty, okay? And so for people who want to be able to wake up every morning and know what is going to go on in their business versus wondering where their next client is going to come from. For people who want to actually be able to predict with extreme accuracy and predictability, and to feel in control versus feeling like they're at the whims of others. They're at the whim of begging their friends and family for referrals. They're at the beck and call of a Facebook or a Google. Okay, they want to have that consistency and control versus not having it. And also for people who just want to control whom they do business with. We talked about how important time is. Well, you want to be able to control who you sell your services to, meaning you have enough leads and deal flow coming through the door that you can pick and choose only the people that are going to bring you joy, only that the people are who are most profitable for you. And finally, only those people that you can give maximum results with minimum effort. I mean, all things being equal, we want to just be able to go in like a surgeon and just bam, do what we do and not have it sap a lot of our energy, but get massive results. That's the sweet spot. So those are the people who really see value in this sort of thing. And above the other things that we talked about, just not being afraid to want that, you have to really be committed to saying, okay, today is the day where I stop leaving things to chance, or I stop having things be like a match, right? A match versus the light switch. Whenever you are using a match, sometimes you can strike it and you may not get the light, okay? You might be it's sort of like when you're in camp and you try to start a fire. You don't always get it right. But when you walk into that room and bam, you turn that white light switch on, you get results and you don't have any fretting about it. And those are the kind of people that really get value from this sort of thing.
Okay, so in other words, if fixing your sales problem is a platform for a better life, more quality, this is what I've been picking up from your answers. Those are all, let's put it this way, those are all emotional reasons for wanting to achieve the outcomes of turning your website clicks into actual clients and getting this controllable recurring revenue that you spoke about. But just briefly, Shola, let's just go into some of the logical reasons why somebody would want to achieve that kind of outcome. Can you just share a little bit of light on that, please?
Sure. Well, the logic is quite simple, Stuart. When you have a sales system that's more science and math than it is creativity, then you can count on that. Okay, so you know that if you add 5 plus 5, you're going to get 10. Okay, so in our example, what we do is that we focus on setting up a combination of smart automation and using statistics to make sure that you're getting lead flow with accuracy. And if you have lead flow with accuracy and predictability, you're going to get sales flow with accuracy. For most people, they don't quite know how to control how many leads or what kind of leads come through the door. And so if you can't control that, you can't control the sales. And so from a very logical standpoint, you realize that if you're not being able to control each step of your sales process, then you can't control the end result. And so that is the clear logic behind it. It's so easy for everybody to see. When you rely on those 4 major rules of math, like I said, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, versus some kind of creative genius that you have to come up with day in and day out just to make a client come to the door, then you'll get the results that are what you want.
Okay, Shola, so we're coming slowly to the end of the show. So far, you've spoken about, obviously, who you help, okay? You help these entrepreneurs, individuals, organizations who want to turn their website clicks into actual clients so that they can finally get consistent, controllable, recurring revenue without wasting their time and money. You also spoke about some of the obstacles that they have, some of the myths, some of the misconceptions. You went into detail about that, as well as some of the pitfalls. And you just recently spoke about some of their fears and some of the emotional and logical reasons why they would want to achieve the outcomes that we've been speaking about today. So with all of that great information that you shared so far, what is your solution to all of that? Does your solution have a name? How did it get started? Just briefly go into that, Shola, so our readers or our listeners can just get to know Shola a little bit more, please.
Sure. Well, I would tell you from the various corporations that I've had the privilege of working with and for, various academic institutions, the startup scene, 10 plus years of painful trial and error, our team has bought and sold over 25 billion ad impressions, generated about 100,000 sales leads, 25,000 customers, and over a half dozen plus countries. What we've seen is the same things over and over again in terms of patterns. And so our customer acquisition technology, which is CRISP, and that stands for controllable, repeatable, scalable, predictable revenue and client acquisition, is really about taking those things that we've seen work across the board and really distilling it into a 5-tiered process. So I'll just really briefly mention those 5 tiers because people can visualize it. So the first one is just a strategy that we talked about, and that really is 80-20, designing a sales automation and a data analysis strategy for your business that's based upon your strength. Okay, so that's the strategy. Then the next is what we call an offer, irresistible offer that enables you to generate recurring revenue. And then we go to work on your traffic and your conversions, and finally what we call output. You see, you can have all the tools in the world, but if they don't lead to the output, they're for naught. And so the last part of what we do is really using our CRM and email marketing and marketing automation platform, ConvertPort, okay, along with our methodology for doing customer acquisition to pull that all together. So ultimately, you have the plan that's based upon your strengths, okay? You know exactly the product that you're going to sell, which is on a recurring revenue basis, so you can get more with less when it comes to your profitability and sales. And then it's working on your traffic and your conversions, and finally automating the work so that you don't have to be doing the work all the time. So when we pull those 5 factors together, then you really get what is the end result of our team's 10 plus years of experience. As I said, buying and selling 25 billion ad impressions, thousands of customers and leads, and really experience across the board, many different service providers across every continent except Antarctica.
Thanks for sharing that, Shola. So we come to the end of the show, and we're at that point now where somebody who's listening to this, Shola, they're thinking, wow, what a great interview. Shola, she shared so much valuable information. I am a business owner. I am part of an organization. I'm an international service provider who wants to turn website clicks into actual clients, who wants to finally get some consistent, controllable, reoccurring revenue that you spoke about, Shola, without wasting my time and money. I think that's what every business owner wants. So if that's the case and they are listening to this show right now, Shola, how do people like that get hold of you?
Well, I think the first step is to really embrace what we call results in advanced marketing. So listeners can go to convertport.com/impact, right? So just convert.com/impact, and have a look at one of our master classes for service providers. And what we do is actually walk you through what we've talked about today, okay? And also we can help you point to those few small mistakes that you're making that are really having a big impact on your business and just clear them up for you. Then for maybe 50% of the people that we interact with, they might be interested in having us connect with them through what we call a business breakthrough session. And we'll jump on the phone. We'll just go through your sales funnel and point some of the things out. If it's a good fit, great. If it's not, then we just ask that you give us our feedback. And this is our way of giving back to our community. And I would just end, Stuart, by saying that if there's one big idea that everybody should walk away with is as follows. You have enough already to worry about in your business, okay? Your business isn't all your life. You have your health to think about. You have your relationships. You have living the lifestyle you want. You don't need sales that are unpredictable. You need to feel like you're in control of your business. You need the certainty in your business income that you had when you had a job, and you knew that every 2 weeks or every month, if you're in Europe or other parts of the world, that money was going to get deposited into your bank account. And doesn't it feel better to have that certainty? And so what we want you to know is that you can have that certainty, but you need to be able to control the things that lead to the end result, which is your traffic, which is your conversions, which is having a a plan. And when you walk through our masterclass, we can actually show you visually how that works and walk you through some case stories of people who may be like many of the listeners on the call who started out not having that certainty, and we moved them to a position where now they have that certainty and they're able to get the results they want without wasting undue amounts of money and time.
Okay, fantastic. Shola, thank you for taking the time to come and share these insights, this unique angle, the way how you've positioned your business to help entrepreneurs who are looking to turn website clicks into actual clients so that they can get that consistent, controllable, recurring revenue without wasting their time and money. That is unique. It's something I've never ever heard of before. I love the name, the crisp, and it's a trademark. I love the fact that you trademarked that. That shows consistency. That shows that you're really serious about that. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Shola ABIDOYE. She's a client acquisition specialist and the co-founder and chief revenue officer for CONVERTport. So with that said, Shola, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Stuart.
You're so welcome. And thank you for everybody out there who's listening to the show today. You take care and bye-bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.